Good evening. A very warm welcome to this edition of Business at 9 here on ET Now. I'm Vikram Oza with the big buzzing business news that we've been tracking all through the day. But top of mind is the Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu's visit to India. It's a state visit to India and it's a visit for 4 days. It started earlier today and he met the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He sounded pretty optimistic that the two nations' relations will improve. He shared how he hopes for more Indians to tour the Maldives. It really is a stark U-turn from the previous animosity that the Maldives had shown towards India. Remember, ties between the two countries came under severe strain since Muizzu, who is known for his pro-China leanings, took charge in the top office of president in the month of November last year. Today, the two leaders, Muizzu and Prime Minister Modi, have signed several agreements. Just listen in to an excerpt of the joint address that the leaders made today.
हमारी नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी और सागर विजन ने मालदीव का महत्वपूर्ण स्थान है इन दोनों में। भारत ने सदैव मालदीव के लिए फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर की भूमिका निभाई है, चाहे मालदीव के लोगों के लिए एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज की जरूरत पूरा करना हो, प्राकृतिक आपदा के समय पीने का पानी उपलब्ध कराना हो, कोविड के समय वैक्सीन देने की बात हो। भारत ने हमेशा अपने पड़ोसी होने के दायित्व को निभाया है और आज हमने आपसी सहयोग को स्ट्रेटेजिक दिशा देने के लिए कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक और मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी पार्टनरशिप विजन अपनाया है।
India is a key partner in the socio-economic and infrastructure development of the Maldives and has stood by the Maldives during our times of need. I would like to thank Prime Minister Modi, the government and people of India for the generous assistance and cooperation extended to the Maldives over the years, including the recent budgetary support in form of rollover of the T-bills.
Both the leaders speaking in very cordial terms after the entire spat took place, and that wasn't too long ago. There seems to be a U-turn from Maldives' side, but let's put that in context. And for that, former Indian ambassador to the USA and Germany, Meera Shankar, joining us on this edition of Business at 9. Great to have you with us, ma'am. Muizzu fought this election campaign. It seemed to push India out of the Maldives. Now, with what we've seen in this visit, do you believe that Muizzu and the Maldives has made a significant U-turn on India? And if so, why do you think it has happened? What has prompted it?
Well, I think there are two things that have really prompted it. One is now a sense of greater realism in Maldives about their own economic situation and their need for India in terms of development assistance. The other is that India has also been mature. Instead of reacting in a huff, when Maldives said, take your army experts who were flying the helicopters that we had given them out of Maldives, we negotiated and we sent other experts. We removed the army personnel and we sent other experts respecting Maldivian sentiment. I think now today Maldives has a serious balance of payments crisis. I think their foreign exchange reserves are in the region of
And that's the crucial bit. Wouldn't you agree, ma'am? The Maldivian president's outreach is coming at this very crucial time for the Maldives. External debt is about 110% of its GDP. Their foreign exchange reserves, like you are rightly pointing out, have dipped to around $440 million. It's really low. Just about a year ago, when he himself was pushing for the withdrawal of Indian troops from the Maldives, he was promising new major projects backed by China. So now the question is this outreach towards India suggesting that China is not in a position to back the Maldives? Is that how one should read it?
No, I think that would perhaps be an erroneous conclusion. They have been working with China to roll over their debt. and they have been working with India to roll over their debt. I think the important thing is that Maldives has realized that it cannot exclude India from Maldives. Even as I said, India has been mature in not reacting emotionally, but trying to negotiate and patiently working issues through.
But that wasn't the
Today,
original
as you said,
plan.
Maldives, if I may just
Yes,
mention,
certainly, ma'am.
Maldives' debt is 440 million,
Yes,
and their payouts are 600 million. With
yes.
debt due this year in terms of payouts is over 600 million. So they are in danger of default
That's right.
unless their major debtors,
Yes,
particularly India and China,
yes.
roll over the debt. And I think that's a key
So
aspect.
you're
But
saying that
whatever the
Maldives
reason,
requires both of them. Maldives
yes,
requires India and China. India has given Maldives a $50 million lifeline last month, and that apparently has helped it avoid defaulting on its sovereign bonds.
yes.
So, in that sense, you're saying that Maldives requires both. China alone can't do it for them.
No, China alone can't do it. They would certainly need India. And I think a sense of greater realism has prevailed because Maldives has also taken action against two of their ministers who had criticized and made fun of Prime Minister Modi. So I think that it's now perhaps on a more even keel and being dealt with more maturely. Sometimes this kind of immature nationalism, which takes over the politics of some of our neighboring countries, can be quite at variance with the reality of the situation and the interest of the country concerned.
Is India playing this well? Diplomatically, is it playing it well to offset Chinese control of the island nation, if I may say so?
Yes, I think India is playing it positively. Instead of criticizing Maldives, instead of, as I said, reacting emotionally, India has patiently worked through the issues and found via medias and has signaled to Maldives that we wish them well. We will be a partner for them in their development. We will be willing to help them in times of crisis. And of course, we are geographically the closest neighbor. So for Maldives, even if it is for essential supplies of groceries, all kinds of goods, India becomes the logical partner because we are right next door.
You did mention why Maldives requires India in the Indian context and our need for good relations among our neighborhood. How do you think the need for Maldives within that scope is heightened at this point in time? Because we've had problems in our neighborhood in recent times. You'd agree with that?
Look, I think that Maldives is very strategically situated in the Indian Ocean. And while, we understand that China is playing this region and all the countries in South Asia want to seek benefit from China's development and assistance, I think at the same time, we would be wary of any long-term Chinese military presence in this region, which compromises our security. And we would expect neighbors to show sensitivity in this regard. Of course, we don't make it a quid pro quo for relations, but as you've seen, most of the South Asian leaders are willing to give these kind of assurances, like you've seen in Sri Lanka. The recently elected president
Yes.
has Anura Dissanayake has just reassured India.
Yes.
Of course, it doesn't mean that they will completely adhere to the assurances that they give.
But it is
So we
required.
have to watch their behavior as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And of course, for India, the long-term deployment of Chinese naval bases or equipment, military equipment in our immediate neighborhood
Yes.
would be considered threatening.
That's right. Also in the neighborhood and the two countries that you mentioned, they have had economic crises in the recent times, and which is where India has been of help. So to be able to leverage that to that extent, to get that kind of strategic importance going, that kind of peace going for India, it has been something that Indian diplomacy has served. But looking at what else Maldives brings to the table to India, it's tourism. And now the question is, are we going to return to the Maldivian beaches, to the kind of levels that we were at before this entire diplomatic row broke out, before this spat unfolded? And is that in the best interest of India? Because already Lakshadweep was projected as a strong alternative, backed by the Prime Minister himself.
Look, Maldives is an important tourist destination, but many Indians will not be comfortable going there if they think that the environment is hostile to India. So they have to ensure that the overall environment within Maldives is friendly to India and welcoming of Indian tourists.
We will keep watching all these moves because it's a 4-day-long visit. The Maldivian president in India on a state visit. And now there is a sense of cordiality between the two nations after those tensions mounted. And yes, there was an exchange. Those two ministers who did speak out against the Prime Minister, they've been removed as well. We will keep tracking diplomacy as we do with you, Meera Shankar. It's always a pleasure getting in your perspective on this. Thanks so much for joining us on Business at 9 tonight here on ET Now.